Hilton Head Island. When I was younger, we used to go to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, fairly often. And we're talking about this is probably about 25, maybe 25 years ago when I started going there. And the reason I was introduced, or how I was introduced to Hilton Head Island, if you don't know, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina is like a tennis and golf resort. The whole island is like a tennis and golf island. And how I was introduced to Hilton Head was through one of my tennis coaches, or one of the coaches at the country club in the area. And he used to, he bought real estate down there, and he used to uh, offer his place as a vacation spot to the club members. And that was his little side business. So I didn't have any interest in that. I don't know that I had much money, or that if I did have money, I wasn't going to spend it on that. So he would do these kind of like little mini academy, or like spring break, whatever you want to call it, trips. And I would just tag along as like the last open spot. So he'd have an open spot, and then he'd be like, "Hey, you want to go down for like $300?" It was something super cheap, and then I would go. And a lot of the kids going had more money, they were more serious, etc. So I would go in the beginning. This is how it started. I would go down there. One of the kids was he was number one on his team. Uh, this kid would whoop my ass when he played me. Like I had no business even being on the court with him. I can't even remember. He was so much better than me, and I was so bad that not that I don't think I was like a bad athlete, but at tennis, I just started playing, or it was like a year or two after I just started playing, and I was a seasonal player. This kid whooped my ass so bad, I can't even remember playing him. Like I don't think he would even play me. And this kid he actually killed himself. He went to I don't know that much about him. He went to California, and then last I heard he overdosed on something. But the kid was like super. He was super cool. Then there was another super cool kid that was more on my level that went down there, and so he would take us down there. And the first couple of times were pretty ordinary. I went to the one of the resorts. They had uh, their coaches there offering these camps, and there was this older guy. He was really cool. He was like in his 70s maybe at the time. And I'll post a picture if I have one, if I can find it on here, of me at this camp. And something else they used to do they offered those college recruitment videos, which I never did, but there's been times when I was with someone where they did it. And he would take us to uh, what we would do. We wake up, we'd play tennis on his apartment complex on the shitty courts. And they were pretty bad. They weren't great courts. And then he would take us to the nice courts, to these resorts. There's a bunch of tennis resorts. And one of them was Vandermeer. He'd take us to Vandermeer. And it was like this amazing dream vacation for a tennis player, for someone like me. And you'd see all these kids. I think one time I did like a regular camp, which was like the resort type camp. But then another time I did the junior camp. And I didn't do it as much as I should have because it was expensive. Uh, but I remember doing one day, and they ran the hell out of us. I remember just running around the island, and they just worked us to death. And that's all I remember about it. I don't remember the coaches. It was so long ago. And then we come back and we play more. We play more on his resort. Go to the gym there, and then maybe the second time that I went, I was a little older. I was probably a junior or senior in high school, and I think it was a couple of the same kids this time around, and one of my best friends who played on the tennis team, but he wasn't serious. Uh, and he had broken his hand. He punched a wall and broke his hand, so, but he still wanted to go. So he went, and I think another one of my friends came who didn't even play tennis, or that might have been another time. But anyway, so we go down there. This kid's not playing at all, so he's got to keep himself busy. And this kid was fun. He was a little bit troublesome, I would say, but we really all of us were this group. And so we go out and we're looking for some fun, meet some people, and we meet this guy at a convenience store. And I think I was like 17. It was this Spanish. He's probably Mexican. I don't know if he's Mexican. He was Spanish. He didn't speak any English. We call him Pepe. And Pepe would go into this store, and he would buy all the liquor. We went crazy. We went. There was no tennis at this time around. I don't even remember playing tennis. But I will say this. This is when I remember my backhand. I think it was the one-handed backhand. Because I talk about the two-handed, then maybe the one-handed backhand when I really started to feel. Overall, I really started to feel like a tennis player on this trip. Now, mind you, I don't play tournaments. I don't play nearly as much competition as I should, like most kids. But there's like no match play, no tournaments at all. I think I played one or two tournaments, and I get my ass whooped by like a 60-year-old. So, so we're down there. I just remember this image in the apartment. So we had the one apartment, and then he had the apartment. The coach, and maybe his wife or whoever he was with, had the apartment next to us. And I just remember this image of the fridge being stacked with beer, the whole thing. And like looking back now, I can't even believe I did this with the guy right next to us. And I don't know if he was unaware of this or if he just ignored it. I have no clue. I can't imagine that he was not aware of this, but he didn't say anything. So Pepe, we go down there. Pepe would refill us on the regular. He would be hanging out there. I think he was homeless. And that's the thing about Hilton Head, South Carolina. It's like, it's probably still like this too. It's underdeveloped. Well, I don't want to say it's underdeveloped. It's just like, it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. When you go out at night, there's no one there. And like I said, I don't know if it's still like this, but this was 20 years ago. 25 years ago. You could walk around this island and no one was there. No cops, nothing. So of course we're drinking. We got all this alcohol and we're having fun. And I'm with these kids, particularly this one who, like I said, isn't playing tennis. And they got these, like the grocery store even is like this grocery store from like 1960s or something. It's so old. I don't know what it's called. It's probably better now, but there's this abandoned car. And I wish I still had the picture of it because the one kid did take a picture. I don't know if he still has it, but there's this car and it's just sitting there for the whole week. Abandoned, no license plate. It's in this grocery store parking lot. So we're like, we're gonna fuck this car up. I mean, if it's still sitting there tomorrow. So sure enough, we're walking around. We would go out at night, we'd walk around, and there's this car. And we fucked this car up. I mean, and then the funny thing is, we get in the car with Coach the next day. We'd be going to the grocery store. There was a bar grill right by this in like the lot of the grocery store. We would go there a couple times a week, and I think this was also like in October too. So this could have something to do with like there being no one there. Because at times I never went in the summer. I went like late October, and then I went in January. And we're driving to this grocery store. We're driving this bar and grill, and there's this fucking car. And we just can't. We're just busting out laughing every day. And this guy, he's got no idea. I mean, hopefully he's not watching this, but at this point, I mean, who cares? 25 years ago. So that's a couple of my devious Hilton Head stories. And then there was later more mature times at Hilton Head when I remember I was probably coaching at this point. This is probably like 10 years later, 8 years later. And this guy was still running this racket that he's got going on. And there was these two twins. They weren't twins. They were brothers. They were really good at tennis in the area. And they went with me this time. So and maybe another kid too that was like playing, I think, junior college tennis. And at this point, there was no alcohol. It was totally different types of kids. And this is when I realized I was playing this kid Lee. He just, This kid was like wasn't the greatest athlete, but he was good at tennis and he is really smart. Like he was a mathematics guy, and I remember him telling me that tennis should be taught in a classroom, and I was like, that's bullshit. Ain't no one fucking listening to tennis lectures and having tennis being taught in a classroom. It's got to be on the court. And a lot of things he talked about, I understand now. And I remember being on this trip and playing a match against him or set or whatever. We used to play a lot of matches, this kid, at this time. And it was on one of those shitty courts. And he had this inside out forehand that was like side spin. And I think he beat me that day. And I couldn't get over the fact that this kid beat me with this side spin, inside out forehand. And I used to experience this a lot back then, where there'd always be this shot or this scenario that the guy would get in where I couldn't deal with it mentally, and he would win over and over with this tactic, if you want to call it that. I don't think it's a tactic; it's just the way they are. And I remember going back and telling the coach this, and this kid's like having a fit because he beat me. He finally beat me, and I wasn't giving him credit. So yeah, it's just this like funky side spin, and I was like, "What? You don't know how to hit top spin, etc." But now I know better. I mean, it is what it is. He was fairly unaware, and I think it's a shame. I think he could have got a lot better. But long story short, this guy just literally dropped off his racket at the indoor club one day to be restrung, and then you never saw him again. He just left his racket there. I have never seen him since the day he dropped off his racket. Never saw him again. He said, "I'm quitting tennis. I'm never playing again." So that was Lee, and the other two boys were Jewish. They were big into Judaism, so I remember having these like philosophical, religious discussions with them. But yeah, these kids, these two boys, they did the whole college. They played college tennis somewhere, and they did the recruiting video. If I can find it, I'll post that too.
Hello, my name is Jody Sambrick. I'm 16 years old and my goal is to play college tennis, and I would like to major in political science.
It'd be amazing if I can find that video on YouTube. Maybe some other things, but this island is, if it's still like that, uh, and that was in the winter. I didn't do that. I didn't do any of the camps that winter. I know that because I remember going out there in the morning. The coaches got like coats on and hats and gloves. I was like, "Fuck this." So January it was a little bit cold that year. I think it was like Christmas break, and yeah. But I really at the end of the day, what I'll say about Hilton Head, I do appreciate that area, and I would go back now. It's been a long time, but I would buy a spot there and enjoy that same scene now, being how quiet it is, and there's like no one. I would love it to be like no one there. The beach isn't that great if you've ever been there, but I would love to like uh, ride bike around there. It'd be nice, things like that. It's just a really nice place to be, especially having all the tennis around there with the Vandermeer and things like that. So just a little story, quick story about Hilton Head Island. Send me some comments, likes down below if you have experiences at Hilton Head Island. And I should have said this earlier, uh, but I do have these posters for sale, and this is Rafa Nadal. Only got small ones right now. Maybe in the future I'll have larger ones. But any of the videos on my channel, if you want clips of those players, let me know. Go to my website in the shop area, uh, and just email me which one you want, and I can make custom posters of that player with action shots. So hope you enjoy this and have a great day.